Welcome to the Phil and H Travel Podcast. Is it worth it?
We have a really fascinating deep dive today.
We really do. Today we are jumping into a complete, uncompromising reality audit of Wadi Wurayah and the Fujairah region in the UAE.
Because there's a massive disconnect happening right now.
Oh, huge. And just a quick reminder up front. If you're planning a trip and want the honest, is it worth it verdict before you book, follow the show on Spotify or Apple.
Because you definitely need the truth before you put your credit card down for this one.
Absolutely. So let's set the stage here. Imagine you're planning this big trip, right? You get an invite to an exclusive, breathtaking VIP event.
Sounds great so far.
Right. So you buy your plane tickets, you rent a car, you drive 2 hours out of your way through the desert, you walk up to the venue, and you find out the doors were literally bricked up over a decade ago.
Which is just, it is devastating for a trip.
It really is. And that is exactly what is happening with Wadi Wurayah right now in 2026.
Yeah, it is being sold online as this ultimate off-the-beaten-path adventure. But legally, you just cannot go inside.
And the gap between that social media fantasy and the actual on-the-ground reality is, frankly, staggering.
Oh, it is out of control. You go online, and there are endless TikTok reels.
Always heavily edited, of course.
Exactly. Heavily edited Instagram posts, and these SEO-optimized travel blogs that are masquerading as current visitor guides. And they are all pushing Wadi Wurayah as this drive-up 4x4 destination.
With those gorgeous drone videos playing on a loop.
Right, the ones showing that pristine 13-meter waterfall just crashing into a mountain pool.
So a traveler sitting in London or New York sees that, they drop a pin on Google Maps, and they assume they can just roll up, park the car, and go for a hike.
But they can't, because the Fujairah Environment Authority restricted access 13 years ago.
13 years. That is a long time for the internet to still have it wrong.
I know, it is wild. You are not going to find a trailhead with a friendly ranger handing out maps. You are going to find a massive padlocked gate and restricted access signage.
So I want to look at the mechanics of why that gate is locked, because a permanent 13-meter waterfall in an arid environment like the UAE, well, that sounds like a tourism goldmine.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. From a purely economic standpoint, you'd think the local government would want to build boardwalks, sell tickets, and just monetize the absolute life out of it.
You would think so, yeah.
So what actually happened prior to 2013 that made them shut down a guaranteed revenue stream?
Well, the closure was really a desperate act of ecological triage.
Triage? Really?
Yeah, because before 2013, the area was entirely open to the public. And it basically became a textbook example of unmanaged crowds just loving a delicate environment to death.
Which we see all over the world, unfortunately.
Exactly. You have to picture the geography here. The Hajar Mountains are an incredibly harsh, unforgiving environment.
Just sheer rock and heat.
Right. So survival for any species out there is a delicate balancing act. When you introduce thousands of weekend warriors in off-road vehicles, the damage is exponential.
What kind of damage are we talking about?
We are talking about severe littering that was literally clogging the waterways. People spray painting graffiti over ancient, fragile rock formations.
Oh, that is awful.
And heavy tires tearing through the root systems of the sparse vegetation that actually holds the topsoil together.
So it's just falling apart.
Completely. The decision to close it wasn't some bureaucratic whim. It was a necessary intervention to stop the total collapse of the UAE's first mountain-protected area.
Which, I should note, is currently sitting on UNESCO's tentative World Heritage List.
Exactly. It is that important globally.
Let's unpack the biodiversity of that protected area for a second, because the scale of life hanging on in those rocks is surprising.
It really is.
The documentation points to over 1,000 species of flora and fauna, and we aren't just talking about desert beetles and scorpions here.
No, not at all. You have the Arabian tar in the wider Hajar range.
And for anyone who hasn't seen one, imagine a highly specialized, incredibly sure-footed mountain goat. It has evolved specifically to navigate these sheer cliff faces.
Yeah, they're amazing animals. Then you have the Blanford's fox.
Right.
You have Egyptian vultures circling the thermal drafts. And most critically, the Arabian leopard, which is on the brink of total extinction.
Wow. So how do all those species survive in a place that regularly hits 40 degrees Celsius in the summer?
The mechanism is water. Permanent water.
That waterfall.
Exactly. That 13-meter natural waterfall at Wadi Wurayah isn't just a pretty backdrop for an Instagram photo. It is the biological engine of the entire region.
So it feeds everything.
Yeah, it's fed by this complex underground network of over 60 different springs. They slowly filter through the porous mountain rock, and they converge into a 6-kilometer stream.
And in an arid landscape, permanent surface water is an absolute magnet for biodiversity.
Right. Every single predator, prey, and plant species in a 50-mile radius depends on that specific microclimate.
That is incredible.
And that ecological richness is the exact reason it requires such intense protection. And consequently, why a casual tourist in a rented sedan is never getting past that gate.
Right. Which brings us to the financial stakes here, because misunderstanding this can be a huge mistake. Travelers are investing serious capital into getting to Fujairah.
They really are.
If we break down the baseline costs, a budget 3-star hotel is going to run you $46 to $54 a night.
Which is the bare minimum.
Exactly. A mid-range 4-star jumps to $79 to $109. And if you want 5-star luxury, well, you're starting at $129 and climbing rapidly from there.
Plus food and transport.
Right. You're dropping about $10 for a standard local meal. And you absolutely need an SUV rental, which is another $52 a day.
You really do need the car.
So you are putting together this multi-$100 logistical puzzle to be there.
Which is exactly why we need to lay down a definitive skip-if signal right now.
Let's do it.
Unless you are specifically registered on the Emirates Nature-WWF Leaders of Change volunteer program, you must skip planning your itinerary around Wadi Wurayah.
And we should note that WWF program is predominantly designed for and utilized by UAE residents who are engaging in active conservation work.
Right. It is not a tourist excursion. If you build your day around seeing that waterfall, you are going to spend real money and hours of your vacation staring at a fence.
So here's my question. If the crown jewel of the region is completely off limits to tourists, how does that warp the entire tourism ecosystem of the UAE's East Coast?
Well, it shifts everything.
Because people are still flying into Dubai, they're still renting cars, and those coastal hotels in Fujairah are still booking up. Where is all that human energy actually going?
It creates this massive localized crowd displacement effect.
Like pushing water around.
Exactly. Think of tourism pressure like water in a pipe. If you block the main valve, which is Wadi Wurayah, the water doesn't just disappear. It forces its way into every other available outlet.
Right.
Because the national park has no tourists, all of that pent-up demand for nature, swimming, and mountain scenery redirects instantly to the accessible substitutes surrounding the restricted zone.
But before we map out where those displaced crowds end up, we have to talk about the absolute dictator of all travel in the UAE.
The weather.
The climate. You can have the best itinerary in the world, but if you go in the wrong month, you will be physically unable to execute it.
That is a hard truth.
The ideal window to visit the East Coast is November to March.
Yes, the winter months.
During this time, the daytime temperatures are genuinely comfortable. The dry wadis might actually have some trickling water from seasonal rain, and the mountain trails that are open are safe to navigate.
But if you step outside that window, particularly from June to September, you enter a genuine danger zone.
And we cannot overstate this.
No, the heat during the UAE summer is punishing on a cellular level. We are talking about ambient daytime temperatures frequently exceeding 40 degrees Celsius.
Which is north of 104 degrees Fahrenheit for our American listeners.
Right. But it is not a dry, baking heat like you might find in Arizona.
Because you are on the coast.
Exactly. Fujairah sits on the Gulf of Oman. That means the ocean moisture creates this thick, oppressive humidity.
It just wraps around you.
It does. Attempting a daytime hike in the Hajar Mountains in August is not just an uncomfortable, sweaty experience. It is a rapid pathway to severe heat stroke. The environment becomes actively hostile to human life.
Wow. So I'm looking at the shoulder months here, April, May, and October, and they seem like a bit of a coin toss.
They are tricky.
You might be able to get out early in the morning before the sun really starts baking the rocks, but by noon, you are retreating to air conditioning.
Definitely.
But here's an environmental paradox that really caught my attention in the research.
Let's hear it.
The absolute best time to go is the winter, right? Because that's when the rains come. But that exact same rain creates the single biggest natural hazard in the entire region.
Oh, the flash floods. The flash flood dynamic in the Hajar Mountains is fascinating and terrifying at the same time.
Explain the geography there, because it's so different.
Right, the geography is fundamentally different from a lush, tempered forest. In a forest, soil and vegetation absorb rainfall like a sponge.
Right, it soaks in.
But in Fujairah, the mountains are sheer, baked rock. When a winter storm hits, the water doesn't soak in. It sheets off the rock faces instantaneously.
It just runs right off.
Yes. Think of the narrow wadis, these dry riverbeds like giant tilted concrete drainage pipes.
That is a scary image.
It is. A rainstorm that might just cause a few puddles in London or Seattle will channel thousands of gallons of water into these narrow stone corridors in a matter of minutes.
So a dry, dusty hiking trail can become a whitewater rapid with almost zero warning.
Precisely. And the water moves with incredible kinetic force. It picks up boulders, gravel, and anything else in its path.
So it's not just water, it's debris.
Exactly. It is the region's primary environmental hazard. So as a traveler, you are walking this incredibly tight rope.
You want to visit in the winter to see the mountains at their greenest and the streams flowing.
But you must have a deep, almost obsessive respect for the local weather forecast. If there is rain predicted anywhere in the mountains, you do not enter a wadi.
Okay, so let's assume you've timed it perfectly. It's January, the sky is clear, the temperature is 24 degrees Celsius. You are ready to explore.
The perfect day.
Let's look at the 4 main zones absorbing all that displaced tourism we talked about earlier.
Okay, so the East Coast essentially divides into 4 distinct geographic and experiential zones.
Where do we start?
Moving along the coast, the first major hub is Khor Fakkan. This area is famous for its sweeping corniche, which is a long, manicured waterfront promenade.
Very nice.
Yeah, it has a massive public beach and these heavily engineered public attractions, which we will dissect later.
Okay, and further north?
Further north, you hit Aqah and Hatta. This is your classic resort territory.
The big hotels.
Right. It's where the large international 5-star beach resorts sit. And it is the absolute epicenter for scuba diving and snorkeling in the region.
Then you have Fujairah city itself down south.
Yes, that is the administrative and historical heart.
Now, you aren't going there for pristine beaches.
No, definitely not.
You are going there for the Fujairah fort, the local heritage museum, the major supermarkets, and the budget-friendly city hotels.
Exactly. And finally, heading inland, you have the mountain passes around Masafi.
Right. Since you can't go inside Wadi Wurayah, these winding, elevated roads are where you take your rental car to get those sweeping, jagged mountain vistas.
And understanding how those 4 zones operate is vital because of the weekend pricing mechanism.
This is huge. Let's get into the prices.
Right. So the UAE operates on a slightly different rhythm than much of the world, though they recently aligned closer to a global schedule.
Meaning Saturday and Sunday.
Exactly. The weekend surge hits on Friday afternoon and peaks on Saturday.
So what happens on Friday afternoon?
During this window, tens of thousands of residents from Dubai and Abu Dhabi want to escape the city concrete.
Makes sense.
They all get in their cars and drive to those exact 4 zones on the East Coast we just talked about.
I want to break down the mechanics of that price surge so you understand exactly what it does to your budget.
It is significant.
Let's look at a 4-star hotel in Al-Aqah. On a random Tuesday in November, when the hotel is sitting at maybe 30% occupancy, you can lock in a room for $79.
Which is incredibly reasonable.
It really is. But on Friday morning, as the Dubai exodus begins, the booking algorithm recognizes the demand spike.
And up go the prices.
Exactly. That exact same room with the exact same bed and the exact same breakfast buffet will dynamically surge past $109, sometimes hitting $130 or more.
Wow.
You are paying a 40 to 60% premium purely for the privilege of sleeping there on a Friday night.
And that volatility isn't restricted to the hotels. It heavily infects the aviation sector as well.
Flight prices, right.
Yeah, the vast majority of international travelers do not fly directly into Fujairah.
Where do they fly?
They fly into the massive aviation hubs on the other side of the country. Dubai International, known as DXB, or neighboring Sharjah, SHJ.
Okay. So if you are tracking a flight from, say, London to DXB, the pricing delta is staggering.
Tell me about it.
In the blazing heat of the low season, say late August, airlines are practically begging you to take a seat for $294.
Because nobody wants to deal with that heat.
Exactly. But try to book that exact same route during the peak winter holiday season, and you are staring down fares well over $545.
So the actionable takeaway here is lead time.
Lead time is everything.
If you want to piece this trip together without getting gouged, you have to book those weekend coastal stays and peak season flights 2 to 4 weeks in advance.
At least. If you try to book a Friday night in Aqah on a Thursday afternoon in December, you are going to get slaughtered on the price.
Absolutely. But if you have flexibility And you can build your itinerary to be in Fujairah on a Monday and Tuesday. You bypass the entire surge mechanism.
It's the ultimate hack.
Okay.
Let's transition to the physical reality of getting there.
The logistics.
Right. You've navigated the flight algorithms. You've landed at DXB or Sharjah. You've got your bags.
Now what?
The arrival logistics to the East Coast require a fundamental shift in how you might normally plan urban travel.
Yeah, because Fujairah is not a neighborhood of Dubai. It is an entirely separate emirate on the opposite coast.
Right. You are looking at a 130-kilometer transit, which translates to roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours of driving.
Depending on traffic.
Now, I want to pause here and challenge the conventional wisdom, because I look at these distances and I think, why can't I just take an Uber or rely on public transit?
A lot of people wonder that.
Do I really need the stress of renting a car and driving in a foreign country? Let me lay out my hypothetical alternative here.
Let's hear it.
I take a taxi from Dubai to my hotel, and then I just use local cabs to hop around. Why doesn't that work?
That is the exact false economy that derails so many trips to this region.
Really? How so?
Let's look under the hood of that assumption. First, the cross-country taxi from Dubai Airport to a resort in Aqah is going to start at a minimum of $49.
Okay.
And if there is traffic or surge pricing, it will climb much higher. Now, once you are there, a local metered taxi has a very low base fare of around $2.70.
Well, that sounds incredibly cheap.
It does, right. But the fatal flaw is the geography.
Because the sites aren't clustered together.
Exactly. The East Coast is strung out along miles of highway. Your hotel is in Aqah, but you want to see the fort in Fujairah City.
Which is how far?
That's a 45-minute drive south.
Oh, wow.
Then you want to go to the Khor Fakkan waterfall. That's 30 minutes back north. Then you want to drive up to Masafi for the mountain views. That's 40 minutes inland.
Okay, I see the problem.
If you try to execute that itinerary using local taxis, you will spend hundreds of dollars. And that is assuming you can even flag one down in the more remote mountain passes, which is highly unlikely.
So taxis are out. What about the public bus? I saw there is an inner-city bus from Dubai that only costs $6.80.
Yep, it exists.
That seems like an incredible deal for a budget traveler.
It is an incredible deal if your only goal is to get to the central bus station in Fujairah City and never leave. The bus is a vital utility for residents commuting between city centers. But for a tourist, it is remarkably inefficient.
It takes too long.
It makes multiple stops. It takes much longer than driving. And crucially, once it drops you at the terminal, you are completely stranded.
Because you still aren't at the beach.
Right. You still have to negotiate a $20 taxi ride just to get to your beach hotel, and you are entirely immobilized for the rest of your trip.
So the math overwhelmingly favors renting your own vehicle.
It's basically mandatory.
Let's look at the daily rates for that. A small, compact car, think a Toyota Yaris or something similar, runs about $24 a day.
Very affordable.
Bumping up to an economy sedan is around $30. But the vehicle you actually want, the midsize SUV, is about $52 a day.
Which is what you should get.
And the saving grace of the UAE is that fuel is heavily subsidized. It is incredibly cheap compared to European or North American standards.
Yeah, having that SUV is not a luxury out there. It is the skeleton key that unlocks the entire region.
Are the roads okay?
Oh, the infrastructure is phenomenal. You are not going to be navigating rutted dirt tracks to get across the country.
Where's out?
You will be driving on massive, immaculately paved multi-lane highways like the E611, the E88, or the E99. These roads cut directly through the desert and the mountains, allowing you to cruise at high speeds with perfect visibility.
And the sensory experience of that drive is honestly one of the best parts of the trip.
It really is beautiful.
The landscape shift is violent in the best possible way. You start your morning surrounded by the hyper-modern glass and steel skyscrapers of Dubai.
Very futuristic.
Then you transition into the rolling, pale orange dunes of the desert, and then suddenly the horizon just erupts. You are cutting through the stark, jagged, slate-gray peaks of the Hajar Mountains.
It feels ancient.
It does. And then you crest the final pass, and those mountains just plunge directly into the deep, calm blue of the Gulf of Oman. It completely shatters that desert and skyline cliché that most people associate with the UAE.
It is a profound geological transition.
Yeah.
You genuinely feel like you've crossed a border into an entirely different country, one dictated by rock and water rather than glass and capital.
Beautifully said. Okay, so you have your SUV, you've conquered the mountain pass, and you've arrived on the coast.
Now you need a place to sleep.
The next major logistical hurdle is analyzing where you are going to stay and understanding what you are actually buying at each price point.
Let's do a forensic breakdown of the accommodation scene.
Depending on how you like to travel, you are going to fall into one of 4 distinct camps out here. Let's start at the bottom of the financial ladder.
The backpacker or budget traveler.
Right. Now, we need to clarify something. The traditional Southeast Asian or European backpacker hostel with bunk beds and communal kitchens, well, that doesn't really exist in this part of the Emirates.
No, it's a different vibe entirely.
When we say budget in Fujairah, we are talking about finding a clean, simple, unpretentious 3-star hotel.
Right, and location is key here. These are almost always located inland in Fujairah city or deep inside the town of Khor Fakkan.
And what does that cost?
You are looking at spending between $46 and $54 a night.
The mechanism driving that low price is simply geography. The fundamental trade-off for the budget tier is location.
You are paying $50 a night because you are not waking up to the sound of waves.
You are waking up to the sound of city traffic.
Exactly. You will be entirely dependent on that rental car, driving 20 to 30 minutes every single morning to reach a public beach or a mountain trailhead.
Which is fine. It is a fantastic option for aggressive explorers who only use their room to sleep. But it offers 0 resort ambiance.
Right, no swim-up bars here.
Stepping up from that, we have the mid-range couple.
This is your classic 4-star tier.
And the properties are largely clustered around the Khor Fakkan corniche, or the edges of Aqah.
And these run between $79 and $109 a night, assuming you avoid the weekend surge we talked about.
I look at this tier and see the absolute sweet spot for value.
Oh, it definitely is the sweet spot. Because of the effort-to-reward ratio.
What do you mean by that?
At this price point, you are buying proximity to the water. You get a nice pool, you likely have direct beach access, and if you want to go scuba diving, the dive boats are launching from the marina right next door.
So you're right in the action.
Yeah, you are getting 80% of the luxury experience for a fraction of the cost of the mega resorts.
But again, you must manage your check-in days. A Thursday to Sunday stay in this tier will rapidly inflate your budget.
Absolutely. Now, next, we have the family tier.
If you are traveling with children, you are almost certainly going to gravitate toward the massive resort cluster in Aqah.
These are the sprawling properties with multiple pools, dedicated kids clubs, and large family suites.
And you need a budget between $100 and $180 a night for this.
But I want to explore a specific bottleneck that affects this tier. Because it's not just about weekend surges, it's about the academic calendar.
Yeah, right. The UAE has a very rigidly structured school holiday system, doesn't it?
It does. When the schools in Dubai and Abu Dhabi go on half-term break, whether it's in October, December, February, the demand for these family resorts skyrockets overnight.
Because everyone leaves the city.
Right. The domestic expatriate population treats Fujairah as their default staycation destination.
So if you are an international traveler trying to book a family room with adjoining doors during a UAE school holiday, you will find 0 availability.
You must cross-reference your travel dates with the local school calendar. It is essential.
Okay, finally, we reached the luxury tier. These are the flagship 5-star beach resorts at Aqah.
The big names.
Prices here start at a baseline of $129 and can easily spiral into the many hundreds for premium sea view suites.
But we need to define what luxury means in Fujairah because it is fundamentally different from luxury in Dubai.
That is a really crucial distinction. In Dubai, a 5-star resort is often hyper-energetic. You have international DJs at the beach club, multi-story nightclubs, and a relentless pace.
Right, it's a scene.
But luxury in Fujairah is defined by isolation and quiet. You are buying sprawling, manicured spa facilities, private stretches of sand, and silence.
It is restorative luxury.
But regardless of which of these 4 tiers you fall into, there is a systemic pricing mechanic you have to be aware of.
Oh, the invisible fees.
Yes, the dreaded plus plus. When you look at an aggregator site and see a room for $100, you are almost never paying just $100.
No, the UAE applies a layered cake of taxes.
Let's list them. You have the 5% VAT.
You have a 10% service charge.
You have municipality fees.
And often a per-night tourism dirham fee on top of all that.
By the time you reach the checkout screen, that $100 room is suddenly $125. You must verify if the rate is all-in before you calculate your daily budget.
Okay, so you've secured your room, you've paid the taxes, and now you have to figure out how to eat.
Let's talk food. The culinary economics of the East Coast are fascinating because they offer a stark choice.
You can eat incredibly well for the price of a cup of coffee, or you can bleed cash at an alarming rate. It entirely depends on where you decide to sit down.
Exactly. To understand the prices, let's establish a quick mental math trick for the currency.
Good idea.
The UAE dirham is firmly pegged to the US dollar at a rate of 3.67. This means the exchange rate doesn't fluctuate.
Right.
So if you see a menu item for 40 dirhams, just divide by 4 and add a tiny bit, it's roughly 10 US dollars.
Very easy math. And the true culinary strength of this region is not found in the silver service resort restaurants.
Where is it?
It is found in the incredible, authentic South Asian and Arabic cooking hidden in plain sight in the local towns.
Oh, absolutely.
The demographics of the UAE mean that you have massive populations from India, Pakistan, Lebanon, and Syria living and working in Fujairah, and they have brought their food culture with them.
Let's compare the logistics of a meal to show the difference.
Okay.
Say you want a hearty, authentic chicken biryani or an Arabic mixed grill with fresh flatbread and hummus.
Sounds amazing.
If you drive 5 minutes away from your hotel into a local neighborhood and sit down at a small cafeteria where the local workers eat, that massive plate of food is going to cost you between $5 and $8.
Which is incredible. The spices are authentic, the portions are huge, and the turnover is so high the food is always fresh.
Now contrast that with ordering the exact same style of dish as a main course sitting on the terrace of your 5-star beach resort.
Suddenly, you are paying $18 to $35.
For the same dish. What is the mechanism behind that markup?
It is twofold.
Yeah.
First, the resort has massive overhead costs. Staffing, air conditioning, imported decor, all of that.
Sure.
Second, they have a captive audience. They know you are tired from swimming and you don't want to get in your rental car, so they charge a premium for the convenience of not leaving the property.
Makes sense. And if you are eating on the go, the value in the towns is almost unbeatable. A fresh chicken shawarma carved right off the spit or a falafel wrap is only $1.50 to $3 from a street-side stall.
The strategy for staples and hydration is equally straightforward.
Call me.
Do not buy the $6 bottle of water from your hotel minibar.
Never do that anywhere.
Right. Head to the major hypermarkets, brands like Lulu or Carrefour, located in Fujairah City. A large 1.5-liter bottle of water there costs less than 50 cents.
Great tip.
A fresh squeezed juice from a local cafe is $2 to $4, and a proper espresso or cappuccino is going to run you $3 to $5.
But there's one specific culinary line item that will absolutely detonate your budget if you aren't prepared for the mechanics of it.
Alcohol.
Yes. The UAE strictly regulates and heavily taxes alcohol. On the East Coast, you cannot just walk into a local supermarket and buy a 6-pack of beer.
No, alcohol is almost exclusively served in licensed hotels and resorts.
And because of the taxation and the licensing monopolies, the prices are steep.
Very steep.
You are looking at a baseline of $8 to $12 for a single draft beer and $12 to $18 for a basic standard measure cocktail.
So if you plan on having 3 or 4 drinks by the pool every afternoon, you can easily double your daily food and beverage budget without realizing it until the final bill arrives.
Exactly. Now, since we are touching on the regulated environment, let's explore the etiquette and cultural expectations out here.
Okay.
Tipping is generally expected at 10 to 15% in restaurants, though you should always check the receipt to see if a service charge has already been forcibly included.
Good to know.
As for water, the tap water is technically desalinated and safe to drink, but almost everyone, locals and expats alike, prefers the taste of bottled water.
True. But the most visible cultural adjustment for a traveler is the dress code.
Let's talk about that because Fujairah and the surrounding East Coast are noticeably more conservative and traditional than the cosmopolitan bubble of Dubai.
They definitely are. The rule of thumb here is spatial awareness.
Okay, elaborate.
When you are inside the boundaries of your beach resort, Western swimwear like bikinis or board shorts is completely standard and expected.
No problem there.
However, the moment you cross the threshold of the resort and step into a local supermarket, a gas station, or a town center, you must transition to modest clothing.
And modest isn't some abstract concept, right? It has specific boundaries.
Yes, both men and women should ensure their shoulders and knees are covered. It's really about demonstrating basic respect for the local population whose town you are visiting.
Furthermore, if you are traveling during the holy month of Ramadan, the entire operational rhythm of the country changes.
Oh, drastically.
There are strict, legally enforced rules against eating, drinking water, or even chewing gum in public spaces during daylight hours.
You will need to consume your meals behind closed doors or in specially screened-off areas within your hotel.
So if we take all of these disparate data points, the varying hotel tiers, the mandatory SUV rental, the massive gap between local and resort dining, and the alcohol premium,
What does a holistic daily budget actually look like on the ground?
let's build out the narratives for 5 distinct traveler archetypes.
I like this. Let's do it.
Imagine you are the backpacker. Your goal is to see the region on a shoestring. You are spending $70 to $100 a day.
Okay, what does that day look like?
You wake up in your $46 inland hotel in Fujairah City. You jump in your share of the $24 a day rental car, throw in a few dollars for cheap gas, and drive to the free public beach at Khor Fakkan.
Nice.
You spend $15 on incredible street food for lunch and dinner, and maybe $10 renting a snorkel mask. It's incredibly affordable.
But the hidden trap for the backpacker is friction.
Right.
If you get lazy and take a taxi because you didn't rent the car, or you decide to treat yourself to 2 beers at a licensed bar, that $70 budget instantly blows past $120. You have to be disciplined.
Very disciplined. Next, let's look at the mid-range traveler. This is arguably the most common experience.
Right.
You are aiming for a sweet spot of about $120 per person per day, operating within a range of $120 to $170.
Walk me through their day.
You wake up in your $90 room at a 4-star hotel in Aqah. You eat the included buffet breakfast. You take your $52 SUV for a scenic drive through the mountains, which costs almost nothing.
Sounds perfect.
You grab a $5 shawarma for lunch, but for dinner, you sit down at the resort for a nice $30 meal.
Now, the financial vulnerability for the mid-range group is underestimating the sheer distance they're going to drive.
The gas mileage.
Right. Exploring the coast requires mileage. While fuel is cheap, driving 80 kilometers a day adds up. Furthermore, this group is highly susceptible to the poolside drink effect.
Ah, yes, where a couple of casually ordered cocktails inflate the daily spend by $40.
Exactly.
Now imagine you are the family archetype. 2 adults, 2 kids. You are budgeting an aggregate of $250 to $400 a day.
That's for all 4 of them.
Right. You secure a $150 family room at a resort. You spend $60 feeding everyone, mixing local lunches with resort dinners. You absorb the $52 SUV cost across 4 people, making it highly efficient. You might drop $50 on an organized activity like a boat tour.
Sounds like a solid plan.
Over a 7-day week, this family is spending between $1,800 and $2,800, excluding flights. It's a remarkably stable budget if booked outside of school holidays.
Now for the luxury tier, the floor is high and the ceiling is essentially non-existent.
Yeah, the sky's the limit.
A realistic baseline is $300 to $500 plus a day per person. You are spending $250 on a premium suite. You're eating exclusively at high-end resort restaurants, dropping $100 a day on food.
Wow.
You've upgraded to a premium SUV for $60 a day, and you are booking private chartered dive boats. The value proposition here is exclusivity and seamless service.
I want to highlight a really fascinating anomaly in the data, though, the digital nomad archetype.
Oh, this is a great one.
With the rise of remote work, people are looking for bases. Dubai is famously expensive. But if you base yourself in Fujairah, the math completely changes.
It really does.
You can live a very comfortable life for $1,800 to $2,800 a month.
For a whole month.
Yes. You can rent a solid apartment for $700 to $1,200. You spend $600 eating fresh local food. You lease a car for $300, and high-speed connectivity is about $70.
You get all the safety and infrastructure of the UAE without paying the Dubai premium. It is a brilliant geographical arbitrage.
But whether you are staying for 3 days or 3 months, a perfectly calculated budget will not save you if you walk blindly into the region's logistical pitfalls.
No, it won't.
There are 3 named traps that consistently ruin itineraries out here, and we need to dissect the mechanics of each one.
Trap number 1 is the phenomenon that triggered this entire deep dive, the closed park trap.
I want to circle back to this because I'm genuinely baffled. If the gates to Wadi Wurayah have been locked tight since 2013, how is it possible that smart, tech-savvy travelers in 2026 are still getting this wrong?
Right.
How does the information ecosystem fail so spectacularly?
It is a perfect storm of algorithmic failure and the internet's lack of chronological context.
Explain how that works.
Here's how the trap mechanically works.
Yeah.
An influencer finds an old, stunning piece of drone footage of the Wadi Wurayah waterfall, perhaps shot by a conservation team or from a time before the closure.
Okay.
They edit it, add trending music, and post it to TikTok with a vague caption like, hidden gems of the UAE. The algorithm rewards the visual beauty and pushes it to millions of feeds.
And the viewer doesn't check the date or the source.
Exactly.
Okay.
Meanwhile, you have low-effort travel aggregator websites that use automated scrapers to generate content.
Right.
They scrape a blog post from 2011 that lists Wadi Wurayah as a top 10 thing to do, and they publish it under a 2026 timestamp.
So the traveler sees the TikTok, they Google the name, they see the aggregated article, and they assume it's a functioning tourist site.
Yes. They endure a 2-hour drive through the desert, burning fuel and time, only to hit a locked gate with a security camera.
The fix is absolute. Do not plan a day around it. Erase it from your tourist itinerary entirely.
Exactly. Now, trap number 2 is arguably much more dangerous, both financially and physically.
The Wadi flash flood and 4x4 trap.
Let's revisit the car rental desk. A traveler walks up, sees a compact car for $24 a day and an SUV for $52.
And they think, I'm a great driver, the highways are paved, I'll save the $28 a day.
Then they decide to be adventurous and drive down a dirt track into a dry riverbed to take a photo. What happens next?
They fall victim to the ultimate false economy. A wadi is not a road. It is a geological drainage channel filled with deep, loose, shifting gravel.
Right.
A small two-wheel drive sedan is simply not engineered for that surface. Within 50 yards, the front tires will dig into the gravel, the chassis will bottom out, and the car is instantly immobilized.
You are now stuck in the desert.
And you have to call a specialized off-road recovery service, which will charge you hundreds of dollars to winch you out, instantly wiping out whatever money you saved at the rental desk.
And that's the best-case scenario where it's sunny.
Right. If they get stuck while those dark winter clouds are rolling over the mountains,
Then it becomes a life-threatening emergency. If a flash flood triggers while your vehicle is disabled in the wadi, the water will destroy the car and potentially sweep you away.
the mechanics of survival here are simple. First, check the local weather obsessively. If there is rain forecasted anywhere in the emirate, you do not go near a wadi.
Second, stay on marked, paved roads.
And third, if you have any intention of leaving the asphalt, pay the extra money for the four-wheel drive SUV. It is an insurance policy against disaster.
Which brings us to trap number 3, which is purely psychological. The Dubai day trip distance trap.
I see this constantly. People look at a map of the UAE, they see how small a country looks compared to the US or Australia, and they treat Fujairah like it's a quick trip to the corner store from their Dubai hotel.
Yes.
They think, oh, we'll sleep in, have a late breakfast at the Burj Khalifa, pop over to the East Coast to see the ocean, and be back in Dubai for a dinner reservation.
That itinerary is a recipe for pure misery. You have to understand the math of the transit. It is 130 kilometers each way.
Right.
Even on high-speed roads, you are spending a bare minimum of 4 hours just driving back and forth across the country.
Add in the local driving to get between the fort, the beaches, and a restaurant, and you are sitting strapped in a car seat for 6 hours.
You are enduring an exhausting commute just to get 2 rushed, stressful hours of sightseeing.
It's a road trip, not a taxi hop. The fix is structural to your itinerary. You must stay overnight. Book at least one night in a mid-range hotel on the coast.
Wake up there, watch the sun rise over the Gulf of Oman, and actually make the transit time a worthwhile investment rather than a chore.
Exactly. We've discussed natural traps and logistical traps, which creates a perfect segue to reframe the broader reality of safety in the UAE.
Because traveler perception of risk in the Middle East often differs wildly from the statistical reality on the ground.
The narrative you hear back home is usually focused on regional geopolitical tension or strict laws. But if we look purely at crime metrics, the UAE is practically sterile.
It is incredibly safe.
Violent crime, muggings, or theft directed at tourists are statistically almost non-existent. You can leave your laptop on a table in a cafe, go to the bathroom, and it will be there when you get back.
The policing is incredibly robust and omnipresent. The true risk hierarchy in Fujairah has absolutely nothing to do with human malice.
No.
It is entirely environmental and vehicular. As we mapped out earlier, threat number 1 is the ambient temperature. The heat will break your body down faster than you can hydrate if you disrespect it.
And threat number 2 is the sudden, violent physics of a Wadi flash flood.
And threat number 3 is actually the infrastructure itself.
Right, the roads.
The highways are so modern, so straight, and so wide that people drive at astonishing speeds. Long transfers on these straight desert roads lead to driver fatigue.
The combination of high speed, tired drivers, and occasionally aggressive overtaking maneuvers is where the real physical danger lies. It requires highly defensive driving.
What about the nuances of solo travel, particularly regarding cultural comfort rather than physical safety?
For solo female travelers, Fujairah ranks exceptionally high for physical security. You do not have to worry about walking to your car at night.
The adjustment is entirely cultural.
It goes back to what we discussed about dress codes. The discomfort a solo traveler might feel isn't a threat. It's the friction of navigating a more traditional society.
Adopting modest dress away from the resort pools isn't about mitigating danger. It's about blending in and showing respect, which makes the entire social experience smoother.
And while the environment is safe, we must explicitly underline the uncompromising nature of UAE law.
Oh, definitely.
The legal system here is not a suggestion, and ignorance is not a defense. For example, there is zero tolerance for drink driving.
The legal limit is literally zero. If you have a single beer with lunch and get behind the wheel, you are risking immediate incarceration.
The regulations regarding controlled substances are equally severe. The penalties for drug possession are draconian.
And you have to be meticulously careful, because a prescription medication that is completely standard and legal in your home country, like certain ADHD medications or strong painkillers, might be classified as a banned narcotic in the UAE.
Wow, really?
Yes. Even having residual traces in your luggage can trigger a massive legal nightmare. You have to check the UAE's official banned substance list before you pack.
Additionally, the privacy laws are incredibly strict. Taking photographs of government buildings, military installations, or taking pictures of local people without their explicit verbal consent is illegal and heavily enforced.
It all boils down to situational awareness. If you respect the environment and the law, it is one of the safest places on Earth.
So, with all of these guardrails in place, the extreme heat warnings, the flash floods, the strict laws, and the locked gates of the national park, what actually makes this trip worth taking?
Let's highlight the experiences that genuinely deliver on their promise.
Absolutely. Let's pivot to the reward side of the ledger, because the accessible coastal experience is phenomenal if you know where to look. Let's talk about Khor Fakkan.
Okay.
Since you can't go to the wild waterfall in the national park, the local municipality essentially built a replacement.
The Sheikh Zayed Waterfall.
It is a staggering piece of civic engineering. They carved an amphitheater and a massive cascading waterfall directly into the raw rock face of the mountain right next to the corniche.
It is brilliantly lit up at night, it costs nothing to visit, and it serves as a massive communal gathering space. It's a great vibe.
And for travelers interested in marine ecology, the Gulf of Oman is a totally different ecosystem than the Arabian Gulf side of Dubai.
The water is deeper and cooler. The absolute focal point for this is Snoopy Island, located just offshore at Aqah.
It's a rocky outcrop that literally looks like the cartoon dog sleeping on his back.
You can book introductory scuba dives or simple boat snorkeling trips for a very reasonable $50 to $100. It is a highly accessible way to see reef sharks, turtles, and vibrant corals without needing extensive certifications.
And if you followed our advice and rented the SUV, the mountain driving is spectacular.
It is.
You can start near Masafi, drive up into the twisting elevation, pull over at designated viewpoints, and take incredible photos of the jagged peaks.
Then you can descend into Fujairah City and explore the Fujairah Fort. It's built from mud, brick, and stone, sitting on a hill overlooking the date palm oases.
The entry fee is just a couple of dollars, and it gives you a tangible sense of the region's history before oil and tourism.
And, of course, we must mention the one tiny loophole regarding Wadi Wurayah.
Oh.
If you are a legal UAE resident and you are willing to put in the time and sweat equity by registering with the Emirates Nature-WWF program to do feasible conservation work, like clearing invasive species or maintaining trails.
Which is real work.
It is. You earn the privilege of going behind the gate. You get that rare, earned glimpse of the true wilderness. But that is a commitment, not a tourist excursion.
Having laid out the highlights, we also have to administer some tough love regarding honest disappointments. We have to set the expectations correctly so travelers aren't let down.
Hit me with them.
Number 1, as we have hammered home, Wadi Wurayah is closed. Period. There are no secret handshakes, no VIP tickets, and no exceptions for tourists.
Right. Number 2, the Khor Fakkan waterfall is a brilliant spectacle, but it is undeniably man-made.
Right?
You must manage your aesthetic expectations. You are not bushwhacking through a dense jungle to find a hidden cascade. You are parking in a paved lot and looking at a civic monument.
Number 3 involves the beaches. When people hear Middle Eastern luxury beach resort, they picture the powdery, blindingly white, flour-like sand of the Maldives or the Seychelles.
And that's not what this is.
No. The east coast of the UAE is a working geological coastline. The beaches are pretty, the water temperature is wonderfully warm, but the sand can be coarse and many sections are rocky. It's beautiful, but it's rugged.
And finally, a massive, flashing red flag warning regarding local scams.
Oh, the safaris.
Yes, because Wadi Wurayah is famous but closed, a cottage industry of opportunists has sprung up. You will see advertisements or get approached by touts offering exclusive Wadi safaris who vaguely promise to show you the hidden waterfalls.
Do not hand over your money.
They cannot legally get you past the gate. They're simply going to drive you around the dusty public boundary roads outside the reserve, point at some rocks, and charge you a premium for a fabricated experience.
So if the true wild mountain water aesthetic is what you really wanted and the actual park is off limits, where can we redirect your itinerary right now to salvage that specific vibe?
Let's analyze the alternatives.
If your heart is set on mountains, water, and outdoor activity, the primary alternative requires you to leave Fujairah entirely and head back west, technically into an exclave of the Dubai Emirate.
Right, a town nestled high in the Hajar Mountains called Hatta.
I know Hatta is heavily promoted, but I want to push back on the authenticity of it. When I look at the marketing for Hatta, it feels heavily sanitized.
It is very different from Wurayah.
Does it feel like a manufactured theme park version of the mountains? Like, is it too curated for someone who actually wants to experience nature?
Well, it is undeniably curated, heavily organized, and intensely managed. But in the context of the UAE's harsh environment, that management is a feature, not a bug.
Okay, fair point.
Most importantly, unlike Wadi Wurayah, it is entirely legal to visit. Hatta offers an incredibly dense, accessible mountain experience. The centerpiece is the Hatta Dam, which holds back this stunning, deep turquoise reservoir surrounded by jagged peaks.
What are the actual mechanics of a day there?
You can rent a kayak or a paddleboard right on the dam for between $16 and $27. There are miles of clearly marked, graded hiking and mountain biking trails that won't require a rescue team if you take a wrong turn.
Rice.
They have a reconstructed heritage village to provide historical context. The lodging is built directly into the landscape, ranging from glamping trailers to nice hotels, running $100 to $200 a night. And it is only a 90-minute drive from central Dubai.
So I'm looking at this as a clear trade-off. Hatta absolutely lacks the wild, untouched, fragile ecology of Wurayah. You aren't going to see an Arabian leopard. But, well, you can actually go there. You can get on the water today, legally and safely.
Exactly. It delivers a reliable, managed version of the mountain aesthetic without the locked gates.
And the second alternative.
The second alternative is to abandon the quest for untouched wilderness and simply embrace the accessible, heavily engineered beauty of the Khor Fakkan and Fujairah coast.
Which makes sense because it bundles everything we've talked about into one geographic area.
You get the dramatic mountain backdrop, you get the sweeping corniche, you get the scuba diving at Snoopy Island, and you get the man-made waterfall.
And it operates on the exact budget matrix we built. $79 to $109 for your comfortable hotel, $10 for an amazing local meal.
It is the ideal pivot for a traveler who just wants to absorb the regional vibe, see the topography, and swim in the ocean without needing to bushwhack into a protected biological reserve.
All right, we have dissected the ecology, the economy, the logistics, and the traps. It is time to look at the final scorecard.
Who should book a ticket? Who should skip this region entirely? And what is the ultimate verdict? Let's run through the rapid-fire matrix based on our traveler archetypes.
Let's do it. Archetype 1, the backpacker. I'm looking at the data and I'm scoring this a 5 out of 10.
The split decision.
Exactly. It is highly worth it if your goal is to utilize the free public beaches, eat incredibly cheap, authentic local food, and just see a different side of the country. But you must absolutely skip it if your sole motivation was to hike the national park.
And the key to making this work.
The mechanical key to making this score work is securing that $46 to $54 inland town hotel and aggressively utilizing a cheap rental car to bypass taxi fares.
Okay, archetype 2. The mid-range couple. The value proposition here is much stronger. This gets a solid 7 out of 10.
Why so high?
It is absolutely worth it for the blend of comfortable beach access, the Snoopy Island diving, and the scenic mountain drives, all while maintaining a very reasonable $120 daily spend.
But when should they skip it?
Skip it if you are seeking a deeply romantic, isolated, wild waterfall hike, because that doesn't exist here. Your key metric for success is locking in that $79 to $109 hotel rate by explicitly traveling midweek and avoiding the Friday surge.
Got it. Archetype 3, the family. I'm bringing the score down slightly to a 6 out of 10.
Okay, why 6?
It's definitely worth it for a safe, contained, resort-based beach week where you are spending $250 to $400 a day. The kids will love the pools and the buffet. But skip it if your children are expecting an Indiana Jones-style adventure exploring a wild jungle full of leopards. The critical bottleneck for this group is securing that $100 to $180 family room months in advance, well before the UAE school holidays trigger a sellout.
Fair enough. Archetype 4, the luxury traveler, also holding it a 6 out of 10.
Okay, break down the luxury score.
It is worth it if your goal is securing a quiet $150 to $350 a night beach base, specifically to escape the relentless, high BPM energy of the Dubai luxury scene. It is a place to decompress.
Right.
But you must skip it if you operated under the assumption that massive amounts of money could buy you VIP concierge access to the protected park. The government does not care how much your suite costs, the gate remains locked. Your key number is tracking that 129 plus 5-star baseline rate.
And finally, the digital nomad. I'm keeping this at a 6 out of 10 for the general population, but it's a 9 out of 10 for a very specific subset.
Why the big jump?
It is incredibly worth it for an $1,800 to $2,800 a month calm, affordable base of operations. Plus, because you are staying long-term and likely securing residency, you are the one demographic that might actually get to join the WWF volunteer program and see the waterfall.
Oh, that's true.
But skip it if your remote work lifestyle relies on intense networking and the vibrant nightlife of Dubai. The key to making this work is negotiating a $700 to $1,200 monthly residential lease.
So we arrive at the overall definitive verdict.
Lay it on us.
If we are evaluating Wadi Wurayah itself as a standalone destination, it is a skip. It is a hard skip for tourists. It is only worth your mental energy if you are a UAE resident officially registered on the WWF program.
However, if we are evaluating the wider Fujairah and East Coast region as a whole, book carefully.
Yes, go strictly between November and March to survive the climate, rent the SUV to unlock the geography, and stay overnight to avoid the brutal day trip transit.
Which ultimately brings us right back to that padlocked gate we started this entire conversation with.
It does. And analyzing that locked gate leaves us with a provocative, almost uncomfortable philosophical question to ponder.
What's that?
As global tourism continues to explode, as 1 billion people travel with a smartphone in their pocket looking for the next hidden gem, will the future of pristine natural spaces worldwide begin to look exactly like Wadi Wurayah? Will our most beautiful, fragile ecosystems be preserved, thriving, and biologically sound, but fundamentally and permanently closed to the casual traveler?
That is a fascinating thought.
Are we rapidly entering an era where experiencing true wilderness is no longer an accessible tourist right you can buy with a plane ticket, but a rare privilege strictly reserved for those willing to engage in dedicated volunteer conservation?
If this gave you the honest verdict you needed, follow the show. New episodes drop every day.
That is the honest verdict from Phil and H.